Hello, my good friends. Mike Shreeve here, founder and head troublemaker of the No Pants Project. You are listening to episode 12 of the No Pants Show. Today's format's going to be slightly different. Instead of me ranting for an hour, I'm actually going to dump you into the middle of an audio recording between a student of mine in a private one-on-one session. This particular student, his name is Thomas. He's amazing and incredible. He purchased one of our programs about mid to late last year. Within several months, was making $10,000 per month. But then life happened. And that $10,000 per month dropped to a point where it was time to start rethinking, re-strategizing, and really start looking at how do we get back to that level of success. He and I talked at length for a little bit more than an hour. You're going to hear about 40 minutes of that audio recording. Thomas has graciously given permission for you to be able to listen in on our conversation. I have made sure to protect all identity of anything important. We're not revealing, anything that is unnecessary to reveal. We just want to give you the advice that I gave to him on how he could get back to $10,000 per month as a freelancer as quickly as possible. And I even gave him a few early tips, kind of a preview into what he would need to do if he wanted to grow that business to $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 per month. There's a couple of things I really want you to notice about our approach. We could have simply talked for 40 minutes about how he needs to hustle and grind and do 15-hour days. But instead, we found a solution to achieving the same results, which was life-centered, which allowed for flexibility, which allowed for taking care of health, which allowed for what is most important in the world of freelancing, which is longevity and sustainability. There's a lot of advice out there on how to grow a business really, really quickly. Most of it is not good for you. Just from a pure physical, mental, spiritual, emotional standpoint. Instead, what we did with Thomas is we worked out a way in which he could build something that operated regardless of what happened in life. So now when Thomas returns to that same income level he had been at previously, this time when life happens to him, it won't affect his income in the same way that it did this time. So without further ado, my dear friends, here is an insight into what it takes to get to $10,000 per month. And a big thank you to Thomas for being willing to share this publicly. And a big thank you to you for listening. The audio quality isn't as good as the podcast normally, and I do apologize. There are a few moments where I am coughing. I believe I was sick that day. But hopefully you'll still be able to get the gist and the main important pieces of it. So without further ado, let's hop into the training. So one of the first questions you asked here, so the great news is this is all very solvable, as you already know. 30 days, 45 days, back to $10,000 a month solvable.
That's great to hear.
Yeah. It requires some fairly large transitions in terms of model and concept and thinking through. So one of the things you said is, what tactics do you recommend to close more prospective clients? And then another one was, how do you increase the quality of your clients? So the answer to both of those questions is the same thing. And I'll see if I can. If you go to Starbucks and you purchase something from Starbucks, they have a set menu and you purchase from that menu. Now you can have variations and there's all sorts of things you can do, but ultimately the reason Starbucks as a company is so successful is because they productized their offerings, which is to say there's a set product that they sell.
Mm-hmm.
What it sounds like right now is that there isn't a set product in your business.
No.
Would that be accurate?
Yeah, there are services that I provide, but there's no set product.
Like there seems to be quite a bit of flex, basically. Like,
Yes.
well, I don't know, let's kind of make a menu together, sort of more like a pop-up restaurant rather than a...
It's probably too a la carte. That's
okay, yeah. Okay, perfect. There is a book that, if you can get it, I recommend. It's by John Warrillow, Warrillow. It's called Built to Sell.
Okay.
It's called Built to Sell. And I would recommend you reading this for two reasons. One, and we'll talk about this more at length, but this is the encyclopedia that you'll the reference material that you'll read afterwards. Built to Sell by John Warrillow. The premise of the book is creating a business that can thrive without you.
Mm-hmm.
In this book, you'll find a couple of things. And I recommend this to you, one, because this is the fastest way to get to $10,000 a month. And two, because of your health stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't matter to me whether you've got that health stuff under control and it's never going to be a problem, but there is value in designing a business around your life rather than your life around a business. And so one of the things that is very easy to do is to not prioritize all those things. And I'm not saying you don't have that under control, but I just think that of all the different methods and tactics that you could get to $10,000 a month, I would recommend that you do the one where the business will continue to grow whether you're involved or not.
Yes. Yeah.
Especially if you're thinking of doing a break-even offer and doing all this other stuff. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of tactics that can get you to 10 grand. You literally, I could just tell you, well, Thomas, just go ask all of your clients that you have right now for more referrals. But I don't think that would be good for you in terms of just piling on more stuff. So Built to Sell.
I would also say that maybe some of my agencies could give me referrals, but the clients that I have right now, I don't necessarily want more of them.
Yeah. Yep.
That makes sense.
Not surprised at all to hear that.
I love them, but
yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's one of the dangers of a la carte and not having a product. So let's talk about the product. Now, we're still offering a service. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we're going to go build a course and a program. We can talk about that in a second. But productizing your service. Let me see if I can explain this well. In my freelancing business, I have a program which we just call the Millionaire Maker. And not a program, it's a service. It's called the Millionaire Maker service. And it is completely built out like a menu item in that it is, here's what you get, here's what you do, here's what it costs, here's the end result of what we do together. There's no one can make changes, but it is built on a result rather than on the doing of the service.
Okay.
So when I see everything that you do and you say I offer digital marketing services, social media, content creation, media advertising, email marketing, you do Facebook ads, you do all of these different things, the first major step that you'll want to take to get to $10,000 a month is to figure out, what is my package? What is my productized version of all of these different things? So let me give you some examples. Excuse me, and we can talk about this. You could very realistically just charge people 10, 15, $25,000 for a complete done for you sales machine. Now, that doesn't need to be called that or anything like that. And this is just talking between you and me. It's not how you would pitch it, but you would identify a very specific client from your current roster of clients, agencies and clients, excuse me, or someone that maybe you haven't worked with yet, but you think you could work with. And you would identify if that person could just wave a magic wand, what result would they end up what result are they looking for? And then what would it cost me to deliver that to them? So for example, let's say that because you have a personal trainer now, all of a sudden you're like, wow, I think personal trainers are really cool and I'd love to work with them. If your personal trainer could just wave a magic wand, what would they want the most of? Well, likely they would love it if they didn't have to do any marketing.
Yeah.
And the clients just came to them and whatever. So what you would do is first you'd figure out how to do that. Like, okay, well, how would I get that for them? What would that look like? What would all the pieces need to be? And then instead of saying to a personal trainer, I'll do your content marketing. Instead of saying to a personal trainer, I'll do your Facebook ads. Instead of saying to a personal trainer, I'll do your email marketing, you say, hey, personal trainer, I have a package. It's called the Thomas's Amazing Package. And it's $5,000 up front plus $2,000 a month or whatever over a course of a year. And what it is I will build this and this and this and this, and I'll do this and this and this and this, but that doesn't matter to you because at the end of the day, what you get is I will give you this result. Now what you do is whether you're using Fast Client Getting Workshop, whether you're using your BEO, whatever process we work on to get you a steady supply of leads, that's all you sell. Now, the ease with which you close a client and the quality of the client will both change drastically. Because as you'll find when you read Built to Sell, a lot of your process in productizing something is determining specifically who this thing is for. And then when you talk about what it is you do, you only talk to those people. Right
Okay.
now, my guess is that you talk to quite a few different people.
Yes. Like in the same industry, but they're not all in the same situation.
Yes. And so that's why you have flux in client quality. Because you're willing to talk to different people. When you productize your service and you say, I can work with people who can afford exactly this much, who have this and this and this already in their business, and this is the specific result that they're looking for, what you've just done is you've said, here's my dream client, here's who I work with. If that's not you, I'm sorry, this product isn't built for you.
And that kind of self-qualifies my prospects for me.
Yes. And if you do it well, you don't have a sales process because they will sell it to themselves. Because they'll say, oh, that's me. Oh my gosh, that's me. And that's exactly the result I'm looking for. Why don't I just buy it?
And I like this because I find that working different channels works well for getting clients my goals. And if I sell the product, it doesn't. If I need to use Facebook advertising for them, I will. And if I don't, like, I could just make it, here's your advertising budget. And because a lot of what I find is sometimes I can get client work done incredibly quickly when nothing goes wrong.
Yes.
Because a lot of what I do is like advertising and making sure that people are seeing things and taking action. But sometimes things go wrong, and then I have to spend a ton more time, and I need to somehow balance in between the uncertainty of how long it'll take, and if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the beauty of productizing is, like, let's say, for example, let's just use the personal trainer example just for now, and then we'll get specific. If you can find out the formula for getting a personal trainer 10 to 15 client leads per month with Facebook ads in Los Angeles, you can do the same thing in Portland, and the same thing in Seattle, and the same thing in Phoenix, and the same thing in Denver, and the same thing. So part of productizing your service is to, like you just said, minimize what you would call kind of like new creative work, meaning having to recreate your business every time you have a new client and resolve the same puzzle. So it's, I know this kind of ad works, and I know these kind of emails work, and I know. And so you charge, let's say, $5,000 upfront plus $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a month. You don't need to do that same thing in too many different cities, and you've got your 6 figures back, and you only had to design it once and then sort of personalize it. And that's really all the work that you do, is the personalization piece. And you're able to consistently deliver those results because the people who are buying from you, you've already identified as the people who are most likely to succeed. Instead of you trying to force yourself into their circumstances, you say, I am only willing to work with people who in these circumstances are most likely to succeed.
And and then I can just replicate. Because my proposals are pretty standard. It is just like a paragraph. I don't do complex proposals. Like,
same here.
I don't want to waste my time.
But
and so like that's standardized. It's just the result getting. I'll say to a client, like, I can get you these results in this long of time, but I don't know. It's I feel like I'm doing too much creative work, like too much figuring things out. When maybe I'm in this group with Facebook advertisers, and they basically just sell to a single person, say the personal trainer, and they have the same ads, and they just change the location, and they make a great amount of money. But I can't do that the way with the clients that I'm having. Like, there's no way that I can bring one of my ads over to another client. Like, if I work for software as a service, every software is different. Like, I don't do just project management services, like softwares.
And so this is where some of that money mindset stuff might be creeping in. If you believe that you are paid for the work that you do, this is the kind of, like, the business you have right now is the result of that mindset. Versus a shift to say, I'm paid for the results that I get other people, for what I give, not the work I do. Whether it takes me 10 hours or 2 hours or 20 minutes, I'm paid for the results that I get people, for the value I add to the market. Then it's a light bulb moment. You're like, hold on a second. That means the number of hours I work and the complexity of the projects I take have no bearing, have no meaning, have no real correlation with how much I'm making. Those two are independent of each other, because the measurement of how much I make has nothing to do with how much I'm working. unless
Right.
I believe that that's true and I build a business where the money only comes based on how much I work, which is your current business.
Yeah.
So with this new transition to productizing your service offering, it is very realistic for a couple of things to happen. One, you just reduce a lot of the stress, a lot of the confusion, a lot of the who should I be marketing to, how should I be marketing to them, who is a good fit, who isn't a good fit. You reduce a lot of the work because you're basically just replicating, to some degree, a little personalization here and there. But then you get into scale, which is to say, and this is why I think it'd be so important for you, knowing the other things you want to do and just knowing your your personal situation and taking time to work on yourself, and you are a self-aware person, so that would be time well spent. You can start to hire to minimize even more what you necessarily don't need to be doing. And when you read the book Built to Sell, like there's no reason that you shouldn't be running a $500,000 a year business.
That would be amazing.
Yeah. Once you get it sorted out, then you start to get other people, including account managers, to make the sales, including people to do the thing, because you've systemized it. You've made it replicatable, just like Starbucks. Starbucks can take anyone off the street and turn them into a barista that sells pretty darn good coffee. Is it the best coffee ever? No, but it's pretty darn good. And but you can't do that until you productize.
And that actually gets to a question I didn't put down, but I will want to hire. And at the point where I'm at right now, I have to hire another me.
Yes.
I can't, and that is, have a certain method. It's built over 11 years. Like I can't afford to hire me.
Yes.
And I was just on the phone with another agency person. I was like, there's one person in my entire life who I've worked with that I'd be willing to hire, who is like, who I trained and has exceeded me in certain areas. And like, I can't build a business on needing this perfect person.
Yeah.
Like there needs to be, because the training level is just so high. Like because there's no system, like the amount of training that would go into it is prohibitive to hire anyone.
Yeah. You want to get your business to the point where you're bored with it. Meaning everything in your business is so kind of just like, we know what works and we just repeat it and we repeat it. And that's for client getting, that's for running the business, that's for providing the service to your clients, because that's the best time to hire. If you have to hire creative people, they're very expensive, and there are not that many that are that good. Does that make sense? Like, for example, the best place for you to be would be to take your creative energy to kind of be the head strategist, the head business owner, but other people to implement. So you teach them how to target on the Facebook. You teach them all these sorts of things, but you're the one who makes the call. So for example, client comes in, let's say it's a $20,000 contract over a year. They pay $5,000 up front and then $2,000 a month for until whatever. Let's say it's $25,000 contract and $2,000 a month for the rest of the year. Okay. Or whatever the math would be on that. That $5,000 fee goes to you, in which you spend at most 90 minutes putting together the plan and the strategy based off of the stuff you already know works and your team already knows works. You literally just fill in some stuff. You're like, okay, here's the copy for the first ad. Here, we're going to make sure we do this. Make sure you target this. It would be like a PDF form. And then you give that PDF to your team and they go execute for the next year. That should be your business.
Yeah.
When I do my Millionaire Maker, I spend typically 1 week with the client either on location or in calls. And then for the rest of the year, I just take a hour call every month, but my team does everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have strategists on my team. I have implementers who implement my strategy.
And I mean, beyond getting sick and needing to work full time, like work from home, but like I was the implementer and I don't like to do that anymore. It's been a while. Like I have a certain client, I came in and I'm only doing these lead getting services, and I see their business and I'm like, if you just had if you had sales and marketing talking to each other, like you could increase your sales by 30%. Like and I can see that for other businesses, but I can't see that in my own business. I'm blind to that.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and that's the stuff that excites me, the strategy, that would be what would make me happy.
Yeah. You need worker bees. And the thing about it is, like, man, I love having worker bees because you can change their life too.
Yeah. Like there were parts of my time where being a worker bee really, I wouldn't have gotten where I was unless I had the repetition of running a ton of ads and Yeah. It's a cycle, and it's fun to be a part of that cycle of giving back in a way. Okay, so how are you so far? Good. I have a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I think that part of why I've been in a rut, I think, has been that I've just been doing this basically hourly work, like paid for the hour that I get. And why last year was so amazing was because I was able to sell more of a strategy to these agencies, and then the implementation was rather simple. But it was the overall strategy that is why they paid me more than just an implementer. And it made me happy. Like that, money is very important, but like I make a lot more money when I'm happy. I just miss opportunities that I just can't see when I'm miserable, Yeah. And I think that, and like, that's part of why I joined Expert Maker, was because things were going so well that I could focus a lot of time on creating this course. And then when the client stuff got difficult, that's when I had to be like, I need to pull it back a little. Like I'm still running ads that go to my, Lighthouse, but I'm not spending very much a day. It's very minimal. There are many things that I know I could do. Like there are many optimizations that I am knowledgeable enough to make that I'm just not making because I have this bleeding money problem.
Yeah. And creativity does require certain environments. That's just true. And bleeding money, high stress, burnout, etc., is not conducive to creativity. Like it takes a piece of you to write a piece of copy. And you only have so much of you in a day to give away like that, especially if you have a life, like
right.
You talk to other people and you do other things. So yeah. So talk to me a little bit about your break-even offer and your Lighthouse and all that stuff that you're doing right now.
So basically what I want to do is I want to teach people who are like me, who are maybe a little bit of a pathological overachiever, but who have a reason that they can't work a normal job, whether that's their health or they're a caretaker or they just don't feel like it anymore.
Yeah.
And so my Lighthouse is how to optimize your LinkedIn to attract clients. And it's 15 pages. I think it's pretty good. But I think that attracting clients is a long-term strategy. It is not client getting.
Yes.
So like I have people reach out to me through my LinkedIn because I have spent years and created so much content and optimized. It's probably not a 30-minute fix unless you can devote your time full time to creating content for LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And my break even, which no one has taken me up on, is how to go and get clients through LinkedIn. And that includes, all the free stuff you could need, like how to search what industries, what level, what messages you should write. So I have a sequence of different messages you should send, how the connection request should work. And then there's a small part of it that's also and if you wanted to pay for LinkedIn services, like the $60 a month, here are the additional search terms you'd use. And that can get you clients. And I think that I'm really close to it. So I feel like there are many things that I'm missing that if this was a client work, I feel like I'd be a little smarter about. But I'm having trouble getting people into the top of the funnel to even get anywhere else.
Tell me about that.
So, I'm running some Facebook ads and it's costing me like $2 a landing page view. And I don't think that, I think there are of course optimizations that I could make to the ClickFunnels portion itself.
Yeah.
But I've seen significantly worse do significantly better.
Yes.
So maybe it's my ad copy. I know I had a ton of trouble with ad copy because of Facebook thought that I was running an MLM, and then I've never had so much trouble with Facebook ad copy. Mostly, which was a little bit upsetting to me. I've been doing this since Facebook had ads, so and I couldn't figure it out. So I feel like, and I've set up my cookies and everything so that I really only get serviced ads in Facebook from people similar to me. When I get ads, I'm only looking at people trying to sell similar services so that I can see what's working and what's not. So I see ads all the time and I just I'm not getting them I'm not getting the landing page views. I'm getting very little conversions. But it's not statistically significant yet. I haven't brought enough numbers to know whether it's a good conversion or a bad conversion. It's just these numbers are so small that I can't draw a conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, I guess it's just, I don't know. And then there's the confidence issue is when I was making 10K a month, I could tell people follow my method, it'll work. And then when I didn't, I was I feel really uncomfortable. I turned off my ads for a month and a half. I was I feel really uncomfortable telling people this because my process isn't working anymore.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you went through that, but I'm really happy to hear that. There's a lot of people who would not have been bothered by that, and they would have just taken people's money.
It feels, because I'm part of this chronic illness community now, it's ripping off your neighbor, and that I can't do that.
Yes.
It's also, my community doesn't have, everyone spends so much money on healthcare, at least in the US, that no one has the extra money to waste.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. So you've got a lot going on.
Yeah.
You have a lot going on. And one way that I like to think about situations like this, because they're very easy to get into when you're self-employed, where you're I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this. And then the problem is that every system has subsystems. So when you say, I'm going to do the expert maker thing, what you're really saying is I'm going to take on the expert maker system, right? The business, the model, whatever you want to call it. But there's subsystems within that main system. So, okay, now we need to look at the landing page. Then the landing page has subsystems within it. The headline, the color of the button, the offer itself. Then there's subsystems within the offer itself. So it's always way more complicated, and how there's way more things to do than just the system itself.
Yeah.
So
like I'm used to A/B testing, but this is a nightmare.
there's quite a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's all very true. So there are some things that we need to do. One of those things is to get clear on what you want right now. What is your biggest pressing priority?
I need to make 10K a month because I want to move apartments, and because things have fallen through, I don't know if I'll be able to when my lease ends. I might have to stay here. My super is a really nasty person. It does not make me happy to live here. So
Okay.
that's my most pressing thing.
Okay.
For me, like, yeah.
Yeah. Perfect. That's great that you have that identified, because that solves a lot of problems. Of the two options, option one being let's work on the done for you services, get them productized and going, versus the break even offer, that whole world, expert maker. In your mind right now, which do you think has the highest likelihood of getting you to $10,000 a month the fastest?
My consulting business.
Okay.
I want to teach, but I believe that it will take me months to get to where I need to be.
Under the current conditions that you are in, I would 110% agree. If you would come to me and be like, Mike, I'm flush with cash and I have too much money, then I'd be like, great, let's hire some people to get Expert Maker going even faster. But under your current circumstances, I would agree, probably consulting is the best way to go. So what we need to do is stop the energy dispersion. So if you consider everything you do takes a little bit of energy, a little bit of focus, and let's say that every day you start with 100 units of energy. Everything that requires you to think, everything that requires you to create, everything that requires you to emote takes 1 unit of energy. Also, results are measured in, let's call these things energy units or whatever. Meaning, if you want to make $10,000 a month on a thing, you need to have invested 10,000 energy points, let's just say, for example. If you think about it, if you start every day with 100 energy points and you give 1 here, 1 there, 2 here, 5 there, 10 there, it's going to take a lot longer for any one thing to have accumulated enough of these energy points or whatever. And this isn't like woo-woo. This is like for example, if you want a successful blog these days, they say you need to have more than 100,000 words on your blog before Google will really, start sending you the heavy traffic. So what that means is if you only put 10 words here and 10 words there, and it'll just take you longer, versus somebody who says, I'm going to sit down and write 5,000 words every day. They're going to get their blog going way faster.
Right.
So what that means is for you to get to $10,000 a month, the key will be for you to do significantly less than what you are doing right now.
Yeah.
It's going to be you sitting down with a piece of paper and a pencil, listing out everything that comes into your mind, everything that you're concerned about, everything that you're thinking about, everything that you're working on, and going through and saying, not anymore, not anymore, not anymore, not anymore. Or not now.
I think Expert Maker is in my future, but that is not now. I agree. Yeah.
So it would be turning off the ads, letting it go for a second, and practicing extreme focus.
It's funny you say this because it's very similar to, I don't know if you're familiar with spoon theory. It's Yeah. So I'm very familiar with the amount of energy that I can give to certain things.
Yeah.
And I only have so much.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I knew that coming in.
Yeah.
But I didn't have permission. I didn't give myself permission to turn that off.
Yep. Well, and it's easy to convince yourself that that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Because you start maybe hedging your bets a little bit of like, well,
I
I don't.
also made the conscious decision to tell a lot of people that I was launching this program at a certain time to keep me on track. And it worked, but now I'm like, oh crap, now I need
Yeah.
I need to say I failed, at least temporarily.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of stuff around that. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And as soon as you read Built to Sell, which honestly, I would say, if you're like, Mike, what's marching orders? I would say go read Built to Sell. It will take you less than a day. Read the whole thing, cover to cover, take notes, and just implement that.
Mm-hmm.
And very soon, part of the things that you'll be putting on your list of things to cross off will be some of your current clients.
Yeah.
It might not be the time yet for cash flow reasons, but just put those on your list.
Yeah. Yeah. I know which ones already. Like,
yeah.
And I love them all. I have very good clients right now, but
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will see us implementing this in the No Pants project. We launched Happy Writer for the last time.
Mm-hmm.
Next week, we're launching Expert Maker for the last time. We are going through this process ourselves of just cutting everything down and focusing on fewer things more intensely. And we are finding A, more success financially, and then B, just like, oh, like when it comes to lifestyle and concern and stress and worry and all that, oh, it's amazing.
I mean, you do those Q&As so often. It's gotta be hard to switch gears between programs, and it's a lot of, that's a lot of emotional work.
Yep.
At least to me, it would be emotional work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel like, I have a pretty clear direction of what I need to do now.
Okay.
I don't necessarily know the tactics yet, but I know where to go to get them.
Yes.
If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I need to read this book, and I need to do some of the productization that I do for my clients that I just don't do for myself.
Yes. I imagine you will read this book and you will probably have a lot of, dang it, I should have already been doing this. I already know this stuff. But hopefully it will lay out a plan for you to execute clearly on what you're doing.
Yeah. And sometimes I just need to read it in a different format, and I'm like, oh, that thing that I've been doing just needs to click in this way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 Absolutely.